Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're also going to have a moment of silent prayer. Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're going to start out here with item A, approve or amend the council minutes of April 6th, 2026. Any additions, corrections? I'll ask for a motion to approve. Kevin, seconded by Aaron. Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Carla? Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kevin.
Yes.
Item B, approve bills and payroll in the amount of $721,259.91.
Larger one this go around, partially because we had an extra week in there. And you would have also noticed, we did buy a bucket truck, that we found a really good one up north. And, $42,000 instead of $175,000 like we budgeted, so extremely pleased there. And then coming down, we got S&S directional boring, I believe was on here. $41,000 S&S. This completed contract 224, which was the West Bar Road water line and sidewalk project. So that project is finally closed out. And when we made payment, that began the 12-month guarantee. So I had no problem gaining interest on that money and waiting to get a 12-month warranty to start that instead of, a year ago like it should have been. So, and that was just a paperwork issue on the contractor's part of one of their subs. So, those were a couple of the driving forces. Like I said, there's an extra week in there, so nothing glaring, but I wanted to highlight that.
How much are we having them pay us on our money? We were collecting interest, how much are we charging them?
We collected it on our money. So it sat in there and collected interest.
What were we getting on it?
I think the last go around was around 3.6, 3.7. So that should have been paid out over a year ago. That should have been paid out early 25.
Alrighty, anything else? Motion to approve. Colin, seconded by Chad. Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
And Carla.
Yes.
Item C, resolution 2026-17 is a resolution accepting a bid from S&S Directional Boring for contract 2-2026. This is the sanitary interceptor phase 1 and declaring an emergency.
We've had this bid now for about a month, but with everything going on and the simple fact that we wanted to do some more exploring on how can we shave dollars off on this project. This is a deep sanitary interceptor on the north side of town, and in order to do this, we were looking to try and go as deep as we could to continue with any extension that would need to be done in the future, whether it's heading to the east or to the north of this property, as well as just the directional bore underneath the road. It's $1,000 a foot for the steel pipe that is required for ODOT. So that was a big price tag. We wanted to see, is there any opportunity for us to trim this down? And we decided that we probably will not replace a manhole and do some workings without doing that. So removing and replacing the manhole is about $30,000 saved if we proceed. And then there's obvious other savings that we would receive if we brought that depth of that up from 25 feet to 18 feet approximately. So we're still looking for opportunities that would be handled, everything would be handled by a change order. So the price that would be awarded is not the price that we would spend. So we're just trying to find any opportunity to handle this by change order. And it's not necessarily for the price wise, it is so that we're not dealing with something, Gary, you and I talked about the depth of it and the concerns of, you know, that's, if you think of the depth that somebody might build a basement, 9 feet, this is 3 basements deep. It's exceptionally deep.
Limits who can work on it. I mean, you're not, the contractor's a big contractor to come in and dig that up. With the shoring, the safety, I'm really struggling with the 26 to 30 foot deep. Talking with Mike and Scott, the deepest one in the town is 23. Only Brush Creek, I believe.
Yeah.
So, that's my biggest holdup on it.
Yeah, Dexter and I talked about that, so if we raise up the depth to 18, it's still deep, but it gets us where we need to be to still have that affordability of options to extend it further than what we need to. But it would still save money, and that's for the directional boring part, so then the other 150 feet or so of open trench coming up, say 8 feet, that would probably save even additional money in depth of the manholes and so forth, so. I understand that, finding an opportunity to save the money, but also to just be thinking safety conscientiously.
Good. Now that's for a motion to suspend. Aaron, seconded by Chad. Chad?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Aaron? Motion to approve. Kevin, seconded by Carla. Aaron?
Yes.
Chad?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Kevin.
Yes.
Alright. Item D, resolution 2026-18. A resolution accepting the bid from Gherkin Paving Incorporated for contract 3-2026. Miscellaneous street resurfacing. Looks like another big resurfacing project this year.
Yep, so when we did the authorization to bid, we had the map, in the packet, 2 packets ago. It does include repaving, well, partially rebuilding South Defiance Street at Lafayette Bar Road where the concrete is crumbling, so definitely a needed spot there. Some patchwork on Miller Avenue, all of Park Street from South Defiance, to the Trotter Court would be repaved, including up to the school's property, down Blue Street Drive. And then a few other miscellaneous areas, that will get done. So Gherkins was the only bidder. We had $790 estimated on this. We budgeted $850, so $758,275. And this, unlike last year where we had about another 10% of the cost of the project, 20% of the cost of the project almost, was the fiberglass, fiber sanding, but now we're going to do the fiberglass embedded into the asphalt to see how this works. It sounds like ODOT's having a lot of success with it, to stop that spider webbing cracking that goes on. So, in addition to this, we are exploring doing the Ruckelite. So some of you may recall back in 2023, it is an oil sand type material they put on when they pour the asphalt, when they lay the asphalt, the oils in it, a lot of them burn off on that surface. And then when you get areas that are especially shaded, as Dexter's described it, you're getting a lot of freeze and thaws, and the road doesn't have a chance to fully dry out. So any, in the country you don't see this as much, but where that road dries out or doesn't dry out, and then you start getting that freeze thaw and you don't have that protective layer. It's like getting that first degree burn or something, and you just continue to have issues with the healing. And so this almost puts that glaze back over the road. So there's 2 different products. There's one is made with like an ethanol base, and the other one is made with a petroleum base, which is what asphalt is. The problem is that a couple weeks after it's applied, you do see that tracking in the driveways, but it does eventually wear off. So that, if we did anything, would fall under the state bid pricing, and we would still fall well on the budget if we decide to add that. So that would be any streets that we've paved since 23, 24, and 25, and potentially even anything that would be done this year to get that applied to this. So few streets that we can physically show where it's worked. You can tell by where it was applied versus where it wasn't applied on a newer street. So,
Aaron, do you have any insight as to why we only had one bidder on this project?
not too many of them that do municipal
Was it-
streets.
Is that the reason?
I mean,
Is it
last
based
year
on
we
the
had
price?
somebody from Fenway do it, or they bid on it. They haven't had it. I mean, Gherkin beats them every time.
Kind of limited to what we can, just not out there.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't because of the processes that we were gonna try to use.
No, because there's no coordination now with, the company we used last year. They had to coordinate all that because once they came in and milled, you saw these guys scuttling around town, putting the tar and chip or the tar down with the asphalt, and then they have to come and put that down as quick as possible. So not having to coordinate that helps because the fiberglass is in the course layer.
Anything else? That's for a motion to suspend. Mike, seconded by Gary. Kevin,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Excuse me, motion to approve. Kevin, seconded by Mike. Aaron,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
Item E, resolution 2026-19, public hearing. A resolution approving 4 more parcels for renewal of farmland in the agricultural district designation and declaring an emergency. Do these folks just not have their time?
Of course, we would like to get this done at one time, just have all 7 of them, but that was not the case. But I did have a note that this was the last that was coming in for this year, from the county. So, the hospital has the ag land out by Fry Road. They have 2 parcels there, 15.7890 acres. And then we have, K Short Trustees, which is the land, on the west side of South Defiance, south of where H&K is moving, that parcel. And then 8.148, from Tubby's Retirement, which is land between Murbaugh Street and Treflo. There's a parcel of land out there. So this just locks them, keeps them locked into CAUB.
Ready to approve? Any questions? Okay, motion to suspend. Aaron, seconded by Mike. Chad,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and Aaron.
Yes.
Motion to approve. Chad, seconded by Gary. Carla,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
and Chad.
Yes.
Great. Item F, we got the committee, board, and department reports. Item G, we got public participation, and I'm going to, turn it over to Abby. We all know Abby, so she's going to do a little presentation on the community garden.
Thanks for letting me speak. I can't believe it's been 3 years already. You guys don't mind me just taking one. I wasn't sure how we were presenting this evening, so I had some notes, but I think it looked like we had some slides up. So I'll just kind of go off the slides, and I would love the opportunity for questions, so I'll try to just kind of go through those not as quickly, but as thoroughly as possible, and then allow a chance for you guys to ask me things. The very first document that I'm passing out is our constitution, which we would have presented 3 years ago to you guys. We've had some changes, biggest one being Timo Acker. He's moving back to Germany. So we have a new vice president, which is going to be Tara Rogers. And we officially have Cassie Storr, who is our secretary, who's also named on here. In the last 3 years, we also got a P.O. box and an actual address for the garden, so that has changed from my personal address to now the garden address and P.O. box for mailing purposes. Another big thing in the Constitution, some name changes here. A little bit of restructuring. We had 6 standing committees, kind of umbrellaed under the president, vice president, and we kind of oversee those, but we found that kind of the gardening and annuals and perennials and natives kind of go together, so we're kind of just smushing those two. We're kind of just merging the two. So very Small change, we just wanted to note that. We use Facebook Messenger to communicate amongst us. Probably the biggest change that you'll see is the very last page. Aaron, I don't know if I sent you this, so this isn't one that you might pull up, but I
You sent
can.
me 6 emails, I'll try.
That's how my brain works. I do it as I'm sorry. I just sent it to you, I'm sorry.
Which one are you?
This is the, and I know, I realized I sent it to you and there was actually 2 different drafts that I had to attach, so I actually had to print these. You can pull up what you have, I don't know if it's
You want the
necessary. for
Constitution,
anything.
what you want?
Yeah, the Constitution's what I'm on right now. Hopefully it's the one that, okay, the biggest, yeah, this is one with the biggest change. If you scroll all the way to the bottom. Page 7. Oh, it doesn't have it on there. Okay. Yep. All right, well, this big blue font is noting a gift acceptance policy. We met with Everence Financial. We had our preseason meeting a couple weeks ago, and Everence came to present to us, and it was suggested that we might include a gift acceptance policy on our Constitution. So we recently added that, just as a way to make people know that gifts could be kind of divvied out as we see fit. However, we would love to be able to honor those gifts. However they see that they want those honored, whether that be a tree planting or for maybe equipment or things that we need. However, given the fact that we're 3 years in and we're pretty well established and have most of the things that we do need, there are times where going to the general fund is more appropriate for donations. So it just kind of notes and lays that out a little bit. So I will pass it around. That's the very last page if you want to take a look at it. And then if none of this makes sense to you today and you want to go back later and see what we've been up to and kind of what the future holds for us, this packet has a kind of an overview front and back, and then some fun pictures of some things that we've been up to that aren't, I don't think, on the slides. Just to kind of see, I feel like these really encompass what we've accomplished over the last few years. So just to note, just kind of like our programming, things that we've planted that are growing in really nicely. This year we got the senior center involved with a plot at our garden, so you can see a picture of them here. Parsons Corner got expanded because we have up to 30 kids at a time, and that space just wasn't big enough, which is an awesome problem to have. We had Creighton Electric who helped us with our electric this year. That was huge this past season to have that. And we even have a picture of Mayor Grimm who came and read books to our children during the summer. So kind of just some fun pictures that I feel like are a good representation of some things that we've been up to. So I'm just gonna let you guys take one and pass them on. I am not really gonna talk much more about these documents. Like I said, I wasn't sure how we were presenting this evening, so I just wanted to give you some reading material. And also I realized that Constitution didn't quite come through the way that it should, so you at least have a paper document. Another big one to note, which will be on the slides here in a second, our big event this evening, you guys can, I just have one copy, you can take it, pass it down. Sunday, May 31st, around 5 to 7 p.m., we have our annual Blossom Bash. Last year was a huge hit, thankfully because of the weather, I think. It was like 70, 75 degrees. Beautiful evening. We had upwards of 20 people. We ran out of food. Actually, I think we had almost just enough. So that was really cool. We have so many people and groups and businesses that are helping us out. I just think that is really neat to see the number of hands that are helping put this on. This is completely sponsored by partners and sponsors that are local. So the garden is not paying a single dime for this event, which is really neat. We are just the facilitators. So I think it's a really great way to show the community coming together and the true support that we have of our local businesses and organizations. So I will just pass this around if you want to take a peek. I think it's really neat. The logo's at the bottom if you want to kind of see who has their hands in some of the things that we're doing here coming up on the 31st. And then Aaron, if you want to put the slides up, I'll just kind of briefly go through those. So we met. Tap Culture is really great about letting our group come in and use their room for our meeting, and it's great. We can put our slides up, so I've gotten better about being a little more organized and having some slides to show what we've been up to. The way we start each of our meetings, we meet twice a year. We meet in January to kind of recap the season, talk about things that went well, talk about things we maybe don't need to do again, and kind of roughly talk about what we want to do in the future. And then we meet again pre-season, which is what these slides are from, to really kind of knock down and nail down the things that are coming up for the season, make sure we've got our ducks in a row and those types of things. So that's what this meeting was for just a couple weeks weeks ago here in April. And the way we start each of our meetings, we always start with our vision. This vision was presented to you guys 3 years ago. Timo and I think maybe Lori Bontrager. She's moved away. We had so many changes in the last 3 years. But I think we started the same way when we presented to you, and it's the way we start every single meeting, because we want to make sure that we stay grounded in the purpose that we started this organization for in the beginning, and we never want to stray away from that. So our vision, I'll read it out loud so everyone can read, but I think it's important to hear it. To provide opportunities for community involvement through sustainable growth and beauty. And I get a lot of questions about that word sustainable. We want sustainability in the garden itself, the things that we're planting, the things that we're building. We want things to be maintainable, but also sustainable for our people that are volunteering. We want people to be engaged and not strained. We want people to stick around. People who haven't stuck around have physically moved away, which is a bummer, but I'm glad to know a lot of people that joined us the very first year are still with us today. A couple of them are sitting in this room. So you can go to the next slide, Aaron. Strategy. So I think we've met a lot of these goals. We want to involve our community. We want to teach gardening skills. We want a place where people just be able to come and sit and relax. I think a lot of people come and use the picnic benches that are there, the tables, which is amazing. That's what they're there for. We want people to take pride in the garden. We want, again, that sustainability aspect, and we also want it to be a beautiful place for our village. Go to the next slide. So these were our 2 guest speakers that we had. Sherry Beck was one of them. Again, we just kind of talked about some ways to make sure that we're trying to get some regular funding coming in. So we're kind of brainstorming that and how we can implement that on a more regular basis. And Wendy Garrett also came in and talked about some things that are up and coming for the village and ways that we can support each other. So it was really nice. We've never had guest speakers attend our meetings before, but it was really nice. It felt that it was good to know what each other's organizations and businesses are up to. So I appreciate both of them coming in. We got some really good information and kind of swapped some ideas. So that was very nice to have them. This has changed. We do have program mentors now as of that meeting, so that's why we meet. It's to let people know our needs. I didn't put faces in there, but we do have a new face that will be going in there. And then also Cassie is going to be helping with that as well. So we do have some program mentors. So far we have, I believe, 3 of our 4 beds spoken for, so we still have some space if you know of anybody. We don't currently have a need to expand to bring in any more beds at this time. So there's no plans for that. So just kind of to give you an update, but this is a new program as of, I think this is our 3rd season of doing this. It's a mentor-led program. They come when we plant. On May 17th is the date that we're planting this year. There will be some garden cleanup projects that happen before that. But on the 17th, they will come. We will talk through their garden space together, help them plan out what they want to do. And then from there, we are there to support them. It's not a, you pay us your very small lease for your space and you're on your own. It is very much, let us know what questions you have, let us meet you up there, let us help you and guide you through this. We want this to be a learning process. So those beds are one, we do not pick or harvest from those beds. Those are for those people only. They know if they want to put any of their extra produce into the produce stand, they can, but those are spaces that they're paying for and leasing that are theirs. So we did have to put up some signs. We did have and have had some issues with people picking from the space, but I think overall it's been pretty successful, and most people are very understanding of kind of that unwritten rule. So like I said, we do have some signs that are helping a little bit with that as well. You can go to the next slide. So some fundraising opportunities. Our big project this year, if we are approved by the village, is to build a gazebo on site. The need for that mainly is because it gets hot out there with our little kiddos. It'd be nice to have a place for them to go. Also, I see this as a place for people to again come and use it freely. Also a place, I'm thinking like Blossom Bash could be a place that music is held. So things like that we've talked about. We talked around ideas like jazz in the garden and things like that. So I just feel like it's a good structure that will be used on countless occasions. But we've got some fundraising that are happening that are open as of, I think, tomorrow. The Plants and Seeds, it's a Google form. And Braden Eichler is helping us with that at his new location. I think it's technically Stryker, but just outside of Archbold. So there's some plants and also some seeds, though a few of us harvested our own seeds and bagged them, and so we're selling those as well. And we also have merchandise. Andy Bentley helped us get an online storefront, so people can go online and purchase merchandise that represents the garden, but also helps us fundraise for those efforts. And then we do have plant bingo. This is gonna be a lot of fun at Naughty Vines coming up in June. So a few efforts, and then we're also applying for local grants. Grants, we have had the most success applying locally. A lot of the grants that we applied for at the very beginning wanted to see concrete numbers. Unfortunately, when you're a new organization, you don't have concrete numbers, you have guesses. So we didn't get any national grants. And when we went back to look for them, they're gone. They're no longer available. So there are some locally that we actually had someone interested in the treasurer position, which I've been wearing 2 hats for 3 years. I've been president and the treasurer. I don't mind doing that. Our finances are very open. Anybody can request them if they would like. So everyone sees our finances on our committee. But anyway, I've been searching for someone to take that role. It's not a real tedious role, but just something for somebody else to be in charge of. Of course, monitored, but anyway, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. But yeah, we are applying for some local grants that will also help with this project. And like I said, I think we've had more success with those. And there's a couple that this person mentioned that like Conagra does one, Campbell Soup does one, ones I didn't know of that she knew of. So I think it'll be a really great opportunity having someone in there that has some history of grant applications, because that is a whole job in itself, as Aaron can attest. So you can go to the next slide. So I mentioned a couple garden cleanup days. Weather is always a little bit crazy in the spring, and also getting people lined up that works for their schedules. We have found it very successful to partner with organizations in the school. That's something we have learned. We cannot do everything ourselves as a committee. It is impossible. It is exhausting. So we have found it really successful to partner with local groups, which people are more than willing to do. We've found that we just have to ask. So there's a couple coming up. We have one with our Archbold Middle School Student Council is going to be coming over on a Friday afternoon, and then shortly after that, actually on the same day, pray for good weather, the football team will be coming and helping with some more heavy lifting. I think it replaces their typical lifting day. So I'm told no equipment, shovels. It has to be a little bit difficult. So anyway, this will be the 3rd year that the football team has come and helped us. This is the 1st year that we've had the middle school help us, and that was actually one group that we have had trouble connecting with in the last 3 years. And just in the last few months, Jake Elting is their new student council leader, and he actually reached out to me, and that's been a really good connection. And he said, "Let me know if you need something again." Well, we need something again. I don't know if you guys are aware that Tara's kind of down for the count, and Carson's Corner needs some help. So that will be our task then when the middle school comes. So you can go to the next slide. So there's lots of tasks that need done. If you know any handymen, I'm sure our group would appreciate it. Richard Thatcher is kind of our go-to, and some of these things have already been done. Lockbox, so our lockbox got broken into last year. There maybe was $5 in there. I know that was a concern when we first got started, like what about theft? In 3 years, that was the first time it ever got open. We did do a police report, we did all the things. We do have a new lockbox that's in there. We went with a different lockbox that hopefully is a little more difficult to get into, that someone can't necessarily use a crowbar, but if there's a will, there's a way. I'm not saying it's not gonna happen again. I guess not everyone might agree. I guess in my opinion, we're still meeting a need. Even if it's $5, I think we were out more on the lockbox itself than we were the money inside. And I think in 3 years' time, that's not too bad. So Pathway Project update, I know there's been some questions surrounding that. The goal was last season to have the pathways done. Unfortunately, with weather and Brush Creek Lawn and Landscaping is doing that project for us. We've already paid our deposit, just waiting for that second half once the job is complete. I talked with Brady Eichler actually just before this meeting, and they're planning on doing that next week, weather permitting. So it is still coming. I know it seems like it's kind of an endless task. He and I have been chatting back and forth, and just between his schedule and the weather, the timing has not lined up. It was really important to us to have this project done before our season opening. So that will be done here within the next week or two. Again, weather permitting. Christmas lights are finally off of our shed. that one required a ladder, and I wasn't going to have our middle school students do that when they were there. Parsons Corner, that's coming up. Perennials, that's actually, I got enough information, I think I can handle this. Well, those will be cleaned up as well. Gazebo and front trellis for the front entryway are going to be two bigger projects this year. Compost bins too. This Kyle McCalla has a degree in ag and soil science, and he actually overheard a conversation of mine, and he offered his help. So we have some really great information, and we're going to be building a more formal, nice-looking compost system. Currently, our compost is just kind of there. It's not really serving a purpose. So that'll be nice to have more user-friendly composting. That leaf bin too is going to get a more finished look. It was kind of just something we want to get it up so we can have some composting. It's called leaf mold. Won't go into the nitty gritty, but we are planning on making that look a little nicer. It just again was something quick to put up before the fall turned into winter. So we can go to the next slide. Said it was going to be quick. Okay, a lot of things up and coming. I know I had a question about some events. You can find all of our events on Facebook. We also have a really nice website, so if there is registration, actually all of them, no registration or not, so like the Blossom Dashes on all of our events are on our website. We now also have a community calendar. So there is our Google Calendar is linked to our website too, so I'm trying to kind of keep up with that as well, so you can kind of see, for the month of May, like what all is going on at the garden month of May. So all those things are on there if you're ever curious to take a look or want something added to it, we'd be happy to do that. We can go to the next slide. Summer programming. Sprouting Explorers is not going anywhere. It's probably been the most successful program that we've had. It's only an hour. This year we're only doing 4 sessions, one of them being on opening day on the 31st of May. This year our theme is growing your own pizza garden. So everything planted in the kids' in Parsons Corner is going to be pizza oriented. The goal is to use all that produce then to make our own sauce at the end of the season, and we have the scout cabin reserved to bake pizza for that last one. So that's something that we've been wanting to do and just haven't been able to do yet. Last year we adopted the My Plate curriculum from the health department, which the kids really liked, or didn't like. Some of them spit out things like squash. But it was really nice. We talked about proper ways to, taste foods and things like that, and the kids had a blast. It's very informal. I think that's what parents like. There's no registration, you just come and go, and I love that every time. We have no idea how many kids are going to show up. That day that we had 30 kids, somehow by the grace of God, we had enough supplies, and it just always works out. So, I just think that's really neat that that's just the way it happens. Our produce stand is going to be open again this year, and then we're also donating to Fish Food Pantry and the Senior Center for, this will be, I think, our 4th year, or maybe 3rd year, I don't remember, but that's been kind of an ongoing connection with those 2 organizations that we'll continue to donate to. And then anything that we harvest from the cooperative beds, there's 4 that we tend to. So our first place that we donate is fish, and then the Senior Center, then anything left over we put into the shed, or to the produce stand, so just kind of know how that works. And anything in the produce stand, it's fair game. People can donate if they feel led. We also have Venmo, but they're not required. If people have a need that's there to fulfill that need and provide people with healthy things to eat. You can go to the next slide. We are mowing. Trevor's mowed twice. It's been rainy. The grass grows fast. So I'm sure you've gotten some phone calls about grass, but that is what it is in the springtime. It's hard to keep up with. Watering, harvesting, and weeding is going to be on a volunteer basis. We need volunteers, so if you have any interest or know anybody that would like to, even just to take a week, we'll have a training session. I'll show you everything you need to know. Every little bit helps, even if there's like, hey, I can help every Wednesday. We will take all the hands that we can get. It's a very light way to be involved in the garden. So if you know of anybody, please send them our way. I think that's probably, we either pray for rain or pray for volunteers in the summer, because it can be a really timely commitment. We were watering by hand up until last summer, which if you want to talk about a timely commitment, water that entire garden with watering cans. With the electric installed, we now have a pump, so we are so much more efficient being able to water with a hose. Now that being said, we go through more water because we cannot shut the water off in fear of the pump causing damage or to the hose, because the pressure is just so much. So the water is continuously running, so that means we are going through more water, but that's been amazing to have that. We are collecting water from the cabin. The scout cabin, we have 2 bins and then 2 off of the shed. and we can have on hand up to 1,000 gallons or 250 gallons a piece. And they are up and running, so next time we get a really nice rain, they should be filling up nicely. We missed a good rain, but we were afraid that they were gonna freeze. You just never know. Pruning will be taking place, and fruit trees have already been pruned. If you're wondering what those weird white bags were on the trees, those were to protect from frost. Hopefully we're okay. They're budding. The apple trees just started budding, so we're trying our best to kind of tend and not have an eyesore, but this is kind of the way it goes this time of year. Very unpredictable in our area. You can go to the next slide. I think I'm about done here. Yes. So that kind of shows you what's up and coming. We do have more things in the works for summer programs and things. They just haven't been posted yet. But do you guys have any questions for me? Anything that I want to make sure that I address that maybe I didn't hit on already?
Where are most of the people coming from? Is it Archbold, or are you getting surrounding?
It depends on the program. We had someone drive from Troy, Ohio once for a canning class. She drove away, so she just said nothing like this is offered in my area. And we've had a really great relationship with the Fulton County, I'm gonna blank, with Melissa,
Ohio State
the Extension
Extension.
Office. That has been a really, really great partnership. They do a phenomenal job. They do finance classes, they do gardening classes, they do the fruit trees for us. So yeah, we are really honestly blessed in Fulton County to have the programs and the funding that we do for those programs. So that's been a really great partnership. But yeah, people will drive, and we've had people come from Defiance saying the same thing. They have those organizations, but either they're not putting the classes on, or they're not communicated well. I'm not sure. But that's been a good partnership for both of us. Melissa has put these classes out, and we have helped her fill her classes more by having us. And then she also fills our need, because I am a canner. Am I going to teach someone how to do it? Absolutely not. But she follows, FDA, everything. It's very much to a T and safe and everything like that. So for our summer program, I would say most of the kids are from Archbold for the Sprouting Explorers. A lot of people, we do encourage people to walk and bike, and a lot of people do. A lot of moms or caretakers will bring, we've had one lady who brings her 6 babysitter kids, and it's routine every time. They'll come, and then they'll go right to the splash pad. So our location's awesome. I think it's perfect. It wasn't where we initially wanted it or thought it was going to be, but it's been awesome. I mean, it's right by the park. I feel like we just kind of engulfed ourselves in that environment, and people utilize that as they're walking by or going on to the next thing. I think really park's just really become a really nice. It always has been, but even more so with the splash pad and the pool and the events that are happening down there. I love that we kind of feel a part of that. So yeah, we do get a lot of people outside from Archbold. I would say the large majority are from locally or Watson or neighboring communities. So.
Abby, when you do your festival and you have the concert, what hours?
What were the hours? I think it's 5:30 to 7:30.
So the live music runs at 7:30?
Yep. Our rules that we have to be out, we're dusk to dawn. In the summertime, obviously, is helpful, because in the wintertime, no one's there anyway. There's no reason people should be at the garden in the winter when it's dark. Now in the summertime, people are going to be out and about longer periods of time. So 8 o'clock-ish is kind of our cutoff, depending on. But dusk to dawn is kind of I think that might actually be in our contract. Yeah. So we make sure that we're done. And if for some reason there's going, like, for example, next week there's going to be some extra noise. So I contacted Maggie Short and said, just letting you know there's going to be some extra commotion going on next week. It sounds like they're going to be over there with some equipment and things like that. And obviously they're going to be done within working hours. But
your pathways, I'm assuming these are going to be like mulch pathways?
no, it's actually like a crushed stone. Yep. It's a compact, so it'll kind of be like concrete without being concrete. A little more permanent without being permanent.
This is what you raised money for?
This is what we raised money for. Yep. And it's just been sitting in our savings account. Like I said, we already paid the deposit, so half of it has been paid. We weren't required to pay the other half until the job was complete. And unfortunately, just between weather and schedule this last season, we were intending on it to be done before winter, but it just did not work out. But the plan is to have that project going next week.
So your potential gazebo bill, do you know where that's going to go on the property, or where you want it?
We actually met with Grant up there couple weeks ago maybe, just to kind of brainstorm. We're thinking, the tree that we planted, the autumn blaze maple that sits kind of in the center on the logo this side, we're gonna have to shift that over because we would want the gazebo in the southeast corner, but tucked into the garden far enough that it doesn't cause any hindrances to people using that alleyway or thing. We don't wanna obstruct any views or anything like that. So where that tree is planted, it's not really ideal. As it grows, it's gonna cause a hindrance, so that needs to be moved north. And then I think we'll have enough space in that corner. And then after that, I do not see, I think we're maxed out on structures actually. I think it's 3. So we won't have A, room, and B, plans because we can't. So this will be it. This will kind of be the last bit. The only other thing I can think of, project-wise, is after that pathway is in, I would love to see some native plants maybe surrounding those. However that works out, we're just gonna put them in, let it rest, sit back and watch what happens, and then kind of reevaluate next season and see if there's areas that we wanna add anything else. But the only thing I can think of is if for some reason our garden beds, we need more of them. You know, we need to make sure we're allotting room to expand there. But so far, the 8 raised beds that we have in there, along with the kids' space, has been enough. And it hasn't been overwhelming either. It's kind of been a good number. So, yeah.
Did you say how big that gazebo's gonna be?
I think it's 12 by 16. I have a picture. I, of course, didn't email that. I didn't want to email Aaron a 7th time, so.
He won't mind.
Some of us, right?
Have you had a cleanup day out there yet?
Not yet. It's coming up.
Okay.
Yep, it's coming up soon, actually.
There's quite a bit of work. We've had a few complaints, so I'm not gonna be real honest with you. It needs some.
I believe that. Yep, I believe that. You can't work in the rain, first of all. Also, all of us have full-time jobs and families. Second of all, we don't plant until May 17th, so we wanna make sure it's fresh and ready. So, until May, I have the dates on there. I'm not gonna be able to tell you off the top of my head, but they are coming. They are scheduled, I think May 1st, so it is coming up in the next couple weeks. I would like to encourage anybody who does have complaints to come talk to me. I am there all the time, usually with my kids probably screaming or doing something crazy. My parenting probably gets judged while I'm up there, but it is what it is. I am there all the time. I am willing to have conversation. So, encourage people to come over and chat with me. I'm willing to brainstorm and talk through things. As are, I think, any of our committee members that are up there. We're all open to conversations like that. I did, like I said, I called Maggie before this, and I mentioned too, just talking through the gazebo. It's not concrete. We haven't even been approved to do the project. It's just an idea. Something that's kind of been a wish list item since we started this 3 years ago. So I would like to meet with her as a condo association rep to, talk through it with her as well, out of respect for them as neighbors and anybody else that would like to meet up and talk through it. I'm more than happy. But yeah, I think those conversations are important. We all appreciate those face to face rather than other means of communication. But that was, yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I think we've all had the same complaint from the same complainants. I personally think it looks good. I've been by there several times in the past month. For what it is and being coming out of the dead season, I think it looks great. But I have one suggestion. That we do something with the lights on the shed.
Okay.
Even if it's as simple as shade to point it back to the shed, or even a timer.
Okay.
I realize the purpose that they serve, for security. And I hate to see it get broken into again, but that would be my one suggestion.
I think Gary, we talked about that last year. So if you go to the notes page, the very last page that has pictures, top right hand corner, I went and took this photo. I think I was standing either on the sidewalk or the road, doesn't really matter, but you can see how far that light goes at night, and it stops maybe 20 feet out. Otherwise, it's dark. So although I appreciate the suggestion, there's people that live on Main Street next to a car lot that have much larger lights as neighbors. 3 spotlights on a shed, to me, seems pretty insignificant, especially for the fact that those are our only lighting source other than the solar lights that are on the beds themselves, which again is for aesthetics, but also for security. Those aren't near as bright as the shed lights. I would agree with that. We also want to honor the work that the artist did, on the garden. So there's multiple reasons that those shed lights are up. So I do hear you on that, but that's just kind of my take as well. So. Any other questions or concerns? You guys have questions?
Do they really need to be on dusk to dawn?
Again, for security purposes, I would
Has
say
anything in the shed been broken into?
no, but I'm fearful if they're off, what might happen.
So you have lights on your house outside dusk to dawn?
All the time, yes.
Anybody else?
I would say most people have lights on their houses.
See, I don't. I live across the street, and I'm not the only one that's talked to council. We really don't want to see any more buildings.
We can't have any more buildings after the gazebo, so.
Well, we don't want the gazebo.
Is there a reason?
It's getting pretty cluttered.
Okay.
If you go to the back of the shed, if I lived in those condos, I'd be pretty upset having to look out my window and see that. When they bought those condos, there was nothing there.
Did you know it's zone residential and a house could have been put up there?
Yeah, I'd take a house.
Okay, because they're gonna have brighter lights than our 3 on our.
Yeah, I'll take a
Shed.
house. But, we don't, you're in a residential neighborhood.
Also
You gotta look at the other residences too.
Sure.
Like I said, I know somebody in the condo
I
has
also know
big
some in the condo.
complaints.
Yeah.
But the lighting, and then at Christmas, well, they're even on now, on the fence.
Are the fairy lights shining into your
No,
house?
I'm just saying they're on.
Sure.
And the talk about data centers, and this is different, but light pollution. To me, this is kind of like light pollution. We really don't need them dusk to dawn. If nobody's touched the shed,
Do you think maybe they haven't touched the shed because we have lights on?
no. But, the park closes midnight to 6.
Does the park lights stay on all night? Does anyone know?
I think there's some post lights down through,
Street lamps do.
yeah.
So,
But,
would that be considered light pollution or a nuisance to neighbors?
It's down in the park.
Yeah.
It's not in the residential area. But, and then the music, your festival, what did we build the bandstand for?
We are not, we actually lease from, the village, so the village is not putting these events on.
I know, I'm just
So
saying,
bandstand, I don't even know where is that, what is that?
You're talking in the park itself?
yes, they could put their music down there. You're in a residential area. If I played my stereo loud enough that the neighbors could hear it, I'm sure I'd get a visit from the police.
Great, were you home when we had the event
Yep.
last year?
And
Did
I
you
was
see the
sitting in the
number of
back of
people?
the house with the TV on, I had to turn the TV off.
Did you see the number of people that attended?
There was a few, yeah.
How that event is bringing people together, regardless of you being a neighbor or not? I mean, out of all due respect, I think you're in the minority, I'm sorry.
You might want to go talk to people in the condos then.
I would love to talk to people in the
Okay.
condos, that's why I encourage them to come and talk to me in person.
Well, I encouraged them to come and they had other stuff tonight, but
I mean, I'm there, you have Facebook messaged me before, and, I called you because I'm not gonna converse via Facebook Messenger about an issue. Same with any of the condo residents, I called Maggie, I'm never going to shoot a text or
Maggie's
something.
clear on the other side, so.
Well, she's in charge of the condo association, so she's my point of contact, but
And
I'm over
then,
there enough that I'm always welcoming the conversation. People just have to come over and say hi. I don't think I'm that scary, but maybe I am.
and
So,
then, this winter, you put a Christmas tree up in that big pot. It blew over after a couple days and it laid there for 2 weeks.
send me a
Then-
message.
then
Let me know it's
the,
all over. I'll take care of it right away.
Then the, lattice fell and that laid there for 3 months.
I don't think it lay there for 3 months. I
Yeah,
think that was.
it did. So I'm just, you know,
Those are the Facebook Messenger messages I would gladly have. If you see something, let me know. I think you messaged me once because we left the ladder out, and I just, again, I have my children there, so I think I was scatterbrained, and I was right back up there to put it away. If you see something, we have multiple people that live. I don't actually don't even live in town, but I do drive by anytime I am in town. So the lattice thing laying there for 3 months would really surprise me because we have people that walk by daily from our committee, but. Anyway, those are the messages. Like, if you guys see something, just shoot me a text. We will get it taken care of right away. That is no
I just
problem.
question the need for a gazebo, for what, 3-4 months a year. So,
Grant, do we have a light ordinance? Not off the top of my
It all
head,
falls under nuisance.
not under nuisances, no.
Well, I'm thinking commercial.
That's obscure enough that I don't know off the top of my head, I'd have to check. I know we have specific height restrictions for like parking lots and stuff. I don't think we have anything that talks about it being a nuisance or where they can and can't be in specific districts.
So they're not in violation of anything. That
being a
nuisance
good
on your-
neighbor.
Off the top of your head.
Nuisance can be loosely defined, so, I mean, nuisance is a general term. If it's bothering people, then it's a nuisance, I mean, to a certain extent. I've never gotten a call about it.
And I'm gonna say this about the concert they have from 5, I think it's 5 to 7 actually, it said in that paper.
Okay, thank you.
It's 1 day a year from 5 to 7. We're not talking every Sunday. We're talking 1 day a year from 5 to 7. We're not talking a rock band out there. It's
One
super
person
loud,
with
like a
guitar.
downtown concert or anything like that. It's
I think
just,
you actually attended the first year, Greg.
it's
Did you?
1 day.
Nope, never been there.
Yeah, it's 1 day.
In fact, I guess the downtown concert's probably louder than
Oh, yeah, that rattles my windows every year.
downtown.
Aaron, does this fall under park committee? Who regulates this?
Council and administrator.
So it doesn't fall under a
It
committee?
wouldn't fall under a specific committee. It could fall under buildings and grounds, but that's now been converted to park committee. That's probably who they went to back in 2023 with the original idea was buildings and grounds committee. Before it came.
But it isn't technically part of the park, is it?
No, it's Village of Archbold.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, we essentially, every department has their own committee of council, which would include when we do their budgets, any issues with the facilities and so forth within each division. We took buildings and grounds because it seemed like it was mostly concerned about any vacant land and or park area, and so we converted that to park committee because of the dilapidation in our parks, so.
So, since the conversation is going, has there been any chatter in your circle or with you guys of a, like maybe a new location? Maybe you seem to be outgrowing it at all, or,
There has not.
not that I want that, I'm just asking.
I'll be honest, we have no interest of that. We've put countless. Are you talking an additional location or physically moving?
Physically,
Oh my. That would, I'm not gonna lie, that would really suck.
yeah. No, I
That
get it.
would be awful.
I'm not suggesting that, Abby, I just wondered if it's been any chatter.
No, because if people realize the number of hours and money, I mean, I can show you report, well, actually on that yearly report, will show the amount of funds that have been dumped. And those are local funds. These are local people in support of this initiative. We have not had any outside funding, other than we had United Way, I think it was maybe $500 or something. But this has been local money, people who believe in this organization, investing back into the community. So anyway, no, that would be really disheartening if we needed to move. And quite frankly, that would be really challenging given the fact of everything that's on that property. So no, it has not even come up in conversation with our committee at all. Like I said, we're quite literally maxed out, but also I think if we think about the goals at least set 3 years ago, we have hit every single one of them. Did I think we were gonna do that in 3 years? No. But when you have people willing to support you financially, physically, however that works, like we're gonna do it. We're gonna roll with it. We have these ideas, we ask people, and we very rarely get told no. Because the community is largely in support. Yes, we've had some dealings with neighbors. Those are things that we have and will continue to work through. But looking at the grand scheme of things, this is called the community garden because that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're getting ages all the way, my daughter's 2, have infants come with their moms all the way up to these seniors that you see in the pictures, and everywhere in between. I mean, we've started collecting demographics, so if you're curious on the demographics of people that are coming, we can show you. We can show you if they're married, divorced, widowed, their income. I mean, it is diverse, and that was the goal. This is not to be an exclusive place, but a place that everyone can just come and feel welcome, and whether that be by donating something, or whether that be from just coming and playing in the fairy garden in Carson's Corner, or whether that be coming to that Blossom Bash on the 31st, like there are endless ways to get involved, and we're trying to strike the interest of anybody who has, any interest whatsoever in being involved in something like this, at whatever capacity or interest that they have. And need, I mean, we sponsor people if they have the need, we provide scholarship. We never want people to not be able to participate. So.
Okay, any other questions?
We have a contract due, is reading the notes, May 4th, is that right? Renewal?
Yeah, the lease is coming up here, the first lease, and so there's nothing in front of us today. There doesn't need to be anything in front of us today. But what needs to be, in your minds is where you stand on if we bring a lease before you to approve it, extend it, and with the question of does a lease need to be in place that says, every year or every 2 or 3 years, however, or does it need to be a mutual understanding that, X, Y, and Z metrics, expectations are met, and if those are not met or ignored or whatever, then we would just say, okay, then you got 90 days or X amount of time. To me, my challenge to council is to ask you, does this have to be something that we have to bring before council, or can it be handled an administrator through the administrator's office and zoning, so that we don't have to create legislation every year? But again, that's not in front of you tonight. That would be, something that I'm asking you to be thinking about. Take the public's input. Obviously, it's what we dealt with the last how many weeks is input. How can we be good neighbors? How can we be, how can there be give and takes in every relationship? But how do we make it good, and not make layers and rules that, do you need council to come, or do you need to come before council to say here it is, or is that really a responsibility of myself and Grant to say, Abby and board, like, you're not meeting the metrics. You're either gonna have to show immediate and sustained improvement, or we're gonna just revoke your right to be on that plan.
Can you send all of council the contract that we entered into 3 years ago, just so that we have, a baseline of where we started with this?
Yeah.
And taking into consideration, obviously, that things have evolved.
Yeah.
But so that we can see where we started and how we might wanna consider that going forward.
Which if I remember correctly, the one that Donna had come up with 3 years ago was kind of the latter option of making sure that we're meeting all of these requirements, kind of hands off unless there's a need. And again, that was always communicated through her or now through Aaron and zoning. In my opinion, I think we have upheld that contract and then some. Has there been some projects that have gotten away from us? Yes, but again, if we know about it, we're going to take care of it in a timely manner. However, that might see fit. Just to kind of note again on the neighbor concerns, we have been, in my opinion, very, what's the word I use? Patient. There have been some requests that we did not have to meet. Per zoning regulations, we did not have to move the shed, but since it was hindering the view of a neighbor, it got moved. We didn't have to put up shrubs that again haven't grown fully in 3 years. Those will, with the idea of it providing a natural barrier between the two. We didn't have to do that. We did upon their request, with no financial help from that person. By the way, after asking if they'd be willing to help us do that, we did anyway. We're putting up fences, which was never a plan. We don't want fences around the garden. It's supposed to be an inviting space, so we have put up fences that we never had intentions to put up. One being in the corner space, the northwest corner, another being around the water collection system off of the Scout cabin. Thank you. Anyway, I get the concerns, but I think we've been, in my opinion, pretty good neighbors, pretty patient with the things that have been brought before us. So, thus far at least.
Have you knocked on the doors of the people just on the north? Or just always talk to Maggie?
We haven't really ran things by Maggie, if I'm being honest, until probably this last year. So those are just probably more recent conversations that have been happening. Because, in my opinion, and I think my approach has been shifted a little bit, because again, we want to be good neighbors. We have zoning and admin for a reason, and we're doing everything that we're being asked to do through those channels. So to go above and beyond that is okay. Again, I don't mind doing that. But again, we have these guys in place for a reason. That I do feel, when we get approved for a zoning project and then it shifts because someone complains,
Yeah, we moved the shed from the original location. There were some unhappy neighbors in the condos about where that shed sat. I was called very colorful words by some residents for my lack of intelligence in a very blunt way. But we got it moved. The town paid to move the stone pad for that. And, unfortunately, we got to work on the soil conditions around where it used to sit. But
yeah.
There's always opportunity. We should never feel 100% satisfied at the end of the day from a performance management standpoint. But my challenge to the council is to say, if you have concerns, let's get it on the table, obviously, and then from there determine, is this a kind of an open-ended lease with an expectation of adhering strictly to the zoning code.
Like I said, overall aesthetics, in my opinion, looks great.
I appreciate that. And we have actually brought this up at our pre-season meeting. We, as a group, feel very much supported by village representatives. We often get compliments from you guys outside of these meetings, but also the community itself. And you guys, I feel like have gone above and beyond to be there when we have had challenges that have been unforeseen, that you didn't need to help us work through, but you did. So yeah, I truly am very appreciative of that, because this was just an idea 3 years ago, and has been a learning curve along the way, and just kind of had to work through some things, and we'll continue to do that, but we have felt that support, and we really appreciate that, so.
Good. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna have a work study session, so we're just gonna continue on in the meeting. And, we're bumping down here to item H, new business, review and discuss. We're gonna, have a discussion. Rand's gonna help us out with that, and Aaron with, zoning amendments for the data centers. Typically, just so everybody knows, we go into, not an executive session, we just have a work study after the meeting. But we're gonna do this work study during the meeting, so if you wanna stick around, that's great. And,
Yeah, we're still an open meeting. Decided rather than trying to create a separate meeting, knowing that individuals will be here regardless, with the topic that we discussed 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks. I don't think that had been 3 weeks or 2 weeks. What is today?
Last
2
week.
weeks. Yeah. In April, March. And Grant and I have been working on some different recommendations, wording that can be utilized. Again, this is not the end-all be-all recommendation for zoning code amendments to include advanced manufacturing, data centers, what have you. But it's more so to understand council stance. We also have, Grant, we have everybody from planning commission here, don't we?
We do,
The three
including Carla and
members
Brad.
plus council and mayor. So, it does not make sense to throw something, for Grant and I to take ideas around, take it to legal review, bring it to planning commission, they say, okay, yep, this sounds good, bring it to council, and then we're re-inventing this. So rather get it on the table. We basically presented you 2 options. One, we roll the dice and we say, no way, data centers are gonna be prohibited, and know that Luke and Austin are not gonna come after us, or we say, let's find the limitations and to make it difficult, but it doesn't entirely put us, to be subject to any lawsuits or litigation. And that's kind of where we're at. We have this first option here, that is more of I don't wanna call it necessarily a soft prohibition grant, but it makes things pretty difficult. And this is the route that we're going. As I sent this to you, I've heard back from a few of you, with your support as in continuing on with this. The whole point of zoning is, we can't create a 25-page zoning code. I think our entire 152 maybe contains 20,
Maybe.
So, as we look at this, there's using the right wording and using attorneys that, if there's a loophole, then there's kind of a bucket underneath that says, but you have X, Y, and Z, you still would have to prove, to be beneficial without creating any engineering standards or EPA regulations that are already written. I'm using that as an example. So at this point, it's for councils, I provided this to you, on Friday, but also another rendition of it, very similar form, a couple weeks ago, just for your input, for anybody on planning commission to provide some input. Because if we're on the right track, we would like to spend the money with a full legal review, and whether that's initially having our local attorneys, and then if we have to go further, we will. And then bring it to planning commission, probably maybe that June 11th meeting if possible, or just hold a special planning commission meeting, because June 11th is already booking up with a couple site plan.
Yeah, definitely won't be June 11th.
Yeah.
I would prefer to do a special meeting.
Yeah. So with that being said, what sort of feedback is there from reviewing this?
did everybody from, I need to get a copy of this.
I'm just gonna ask the same thing.
I don't know. Chris.
I did not, no. No.
So I think the prohibition should be off the table. I mean, it doesn't work. Anybody that does prohibition gets sued right away. So I mean, that's my opinion on that.
I agree with Chad on that. consider doing that.
I was in favor of doing conditional use the whole time, so I mean, like that's 75 acres,
It's gonna be I mean, the language that we have in here is gonna be restrictive.
so I mean, we can approve whatever down the road if we want to, if it's something that makes sense, right?
I think that's important to understand is, as the state goes through with their studies and as things change, as this stuff progresses, like, we will be changing this code in the future as we get more information inevitably. So, obviously, right now we go with what we have, and then as the state goes through with their study and analysis of data centers, if we need to change something, we will then too. So, very fluid in that manner. Obviously, it takes time, but we can make necessary changes to either strengthen it, or if the language gets approved and there's an outright prohibition in the whole state of Ohio, then we're good. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So obviously, this isn't the end all be all. Just want to make sure that's kept in mind.
Were any of you concerned about, under the descriptions in the condition of use one, item 1, a high technology manufacturing facility? I was just a little concerned that it seemed like it might restrict us from other non-data center type businesses. Just the way it read, it's on the first page of the conditional use one. So item 1, high technology. I'm not gonna pretend like I know all about manufacturing facilities, sources and that kind of thing. This didn't seem like it spoke directly to data center type of functions, like precision tooling and CNC. I mean, that's robotics. Those are things that I could see us potentially having come into one of our existing facilities, or something that would be even an extension of one of the businesses that's already in town. And I just feel like that might restrict us from something that we might potentially welcome, that might fit what our long-term goals are.
Yeah.
Carla, but a facility like that would come in, would they require over 75 acres, right? And then on top of that, there's the review of jobs that would come in with it. In which case, I would think that if we were to bring in some kind of CNC facility, let's say for the sake of examples, right? Eagle Machining moves into Archbold, revamps, they bring in all of their CNCs, 360 employees, right? That facility sits probably on 3 acres for 360 employees. So I see where you're coming from, but I think that 75 acres is, when we look at it like that, right, then we have all the boxes that need to be checked.
I'm trying to relate this to first quality coming into the EDC, high technology, robotics, not a lot of CNC, 400 jobs. I'm not sure how many acres that is, but I would not want to limit something like that.
Say 75 acres doesn't go very far for manufacturing.
Aaron, will you pull up that spreadsheet? There's only one place in town that has more than 75 acres, and that's Sodders, across all their facilities. It's in the P drive, Aaron.
I can't remote. VPN is down.
Your
I just
VPN's
wanna
down?
make sure we're not creating some kind of restrictions for potential growth.
I added them all together.
Manufacturing and labor.
Correct.
Is it like
He's saying they
200?
want to restrict them because they're.
I'm getting it
Is
pulled
it
up.
200 acres?
I'm getting it pulled up right now.
I think it's 200, everything.
I mean,
So-
EDC's over that, but it's in 3 different parts.
I excluded the EDC from the solder solder woodworking, just because knowing that that's being bought by First Quality, it wouldn't be fair to include that. So, I mean, as you can see, the Sodders is an outlier when it comes to overall acreage.
EDC is 72 acres.
Right. I think the other key part, so that, just to be clear, that definition was straight from German Township's definition. I didn't really feel a need to change it at all. I mean, their definition was drafted by the attorney, the Fulton County prosecutor, so I didn't feel any need to reinvent the wheel in that regard. But I think the key part of that, Carl, is the characterization. So it's the continuous high load of energy consumption, large scale mechanical cooling or heating system. So it's kind of separating it from just a normal run of the mill grassroots CNC operation. It's the large scale qualities of it that it's specifically targeting. Obviously, like I said, we're going through review, so if the attorneys kind of outline the same thing, then says we'll change it then as well.
And everything's subject to planning commission
Right,
review.
I was gonna say,
I
if
mean,
they came to, someone
irregardless.
came to us and this was the
Yes.
only thing that was off, we could make a decision
Yeah.
to go ahead
The
and
planning commission
permit
has
it.
that authority to,
Yeah.
And provide-
Trying.
Well, that's my concern, is I hate to put something in writing and have somebody go, well,
Yeah.
their zoning says we can't do this, so we might as well just look someplace else. I mean, we have to be mindful of not making ourselves unattractive to any potential new
We
industry.
have a current real estate transaction going on in Archbold for two guys who have worked their tail off, locally, and I was told that they had some strong concerns about what, getting this building purchased, and it's not for any of these uses, but about what bank financing might turn them down on getting this property acquired. So yeah, planning commission always has to have, that level of say. Conditional use, because they approve conditional uses. I mean, it's quasi judicial sort of meeting. So it doesn't come to council. That changed back when the zoning code was done back in 2021. And conditional uses used to have to come to council. So, but I just wanted to state that it's a balance. Because two individuals, I mean, like I said, it's just an example of what I heard on the street.
And why are they concerned about financing?
Because of what the zoning code may say, and the bank saying, well, we wanna do this, you wanna purchase this facility for X, and now we're seeing that, your zoning code has got something in place that's going to prohibit, or be interpreted as a prohibition, even though it's not, or a hurdle.
Thanks for sharing the EDC 72, because that puts it in perspective. To see something larger and that come along would certainly be an outlier.
And if you're trying to hire in this area, I'm wondering how they're gonna hire 400 people to work out there.
Yeah.
I know we want business and industry, but where are you gonna find people to work? You cannot get people to show up, they'll show up for a week or whatever, they're gone. I don't know how they're gonna find them. I hope they do. I hope they find 700 people to work there. But it's nearly impossible to hire general labor type people to work right now. I'm afraid they're gonna might bust them in where other places are doing that, Menards, things like that, busting people in.
I could argue somewhat to the opposite. I can tell you myself that I haven't had a problem finding employees lately. It's all about the wage. So, and Archbold, typically, most facilities here pay a decent wage. I would consider my facility an outlier on the lower end and haven't had too much of a problem. But when what's that?
Where do you work?
Napoleon Springworks. So, we haven't had too much of a problem, but if you ask around, we don't pay a premium compared to other places, including in town. But when you're talking about the downsize of Souders, Eagle, some other places within Waseon and Napoleon, especially turnover that's going on in Napoleon in a couple different facilities that I've learned about here recently, I don't think they'll have too much of a problem, but I do agree, they inevitably, every place has its turnover. So I would suspect if they need 400 employees, they'll get 200 good ones, and then they'll cycle through 200 probably over the next 3 to 4 years until they're only cycling between 50 and 75 every year. That's just the name of the game. As people want to progress and make more money, they'll jump somewhere else and the newest and best place. But I do think even here in Archbold, there's quite a bit of people looking for jobs and who would gladly leave the job that they've had for 1 to 3 years outside of town to stay in town if the premium, if the wage is right, which I don't know what First Quality has, but, hopefully it would be competitive to the area. If not, then, 5 years and they're gone. Hopefully not.
Manufacturing problem.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, 400's a lot of people right there. And if you're gonna hire, you need 400, you need to hire 600.
Yes.
'Cause you're
You need to
gonna
hire
use
1,200.
Yeah, and they're opening defiance, which, I know there's a lot of closures in the area, but it's a struggle. I mean, the last month hasn't been as bad, I will say that, but before that, it was a big struggle to hire people. Even at a lot better wages than what it used to be. That type of thing.
Sorry, I'm being picky, but shouldn't that second A be a B?
Yes.
Things don't change, do they?
Thanks, Vaughn.
Sorry.
This is
We
where I
like
get
it, all A, it's no B.
We'll just
We'll
change
make
this.
sure we get somebody to fix
I
that.
mean, our goal, I think our goal for everyone here, I'm not gonna speak for everyone here, everyone has their own opinion, is not to have a data center type facility. That's our goal. I think Aaron and Grant have written something really good. I sent them something today that was actually 26 pages, not 25 pages.
That might be too long.
It might be too long, but I think you have to expand on some of these things, because there are some loopholes, like lighting, things like that, environmental. Those are huge things that need to be expanded on when it comes to it. And if you wanna share it with everybody else afterwards, I sent this afternoon, you probably couldn't read through it.
Not all.
But how does that affect
I said
area
we-
businesses that are already here that have light pollution problems, all the above? I mean,
They're grandfathered in.
You're talking apples and oranges though.
But
Okay, that's the difference. You're talking apples and
you're
oranges.
trying to protect your community. I
You're-
mean, it's all valid.
You're not talking apples and oranges though, because that's not the way that, it is, the way we can visualize it and perceive it right now, it's apples and oranges, but the problem is once it's on paper, intent doesn't matter as much, what the words matter.
Correct.
So any future development will be impacted by that, especially for vague analysis. So, requiring the traffic study, we have that as a generalization in the code. The village engineer, based on the area situation, can require traffic study. It's not mandatory, it can be required. But that's for all development types. It's not specific to a certain development type, and that's the way it has to be. So if we start placing these certain analysis on data centers or advanced manufacturing specifically, if it were ever to be challenged, we would be essentially cherry picking how we apply it to a certain use, which from what I've read is always overturned by the Supreme Court.
So maybe what you're saying is maybe a little bit more vague.
Not
No.
vague,
Not
no.
necessarily.
Specific.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say more specific.
And I'm not saying it has to be 25 pages long, but there's good information in there to look at.
Oh, I
that you
agree.
can apply to certain places on there to expand it a little bit. Or it's very vague.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying, that there needs to be some very specific things like sound and light. And when I said apples and oranges, it's Abby's lights at her park versus a data center's lights. You're talking apples and oranges. They're totally different things. So my concern as I've listened, I would probably, I don't know who the attorney is that's consulted, but I would probably consult with someone that has specific knowledge about what data centers bring, not a generic attorney who has, come see, come saw opinions, but nothing that has legal basis. That's a concern for me. There's a lot to this, and all it has to be is one building that comes in under sort of the blanket, but if there are 12 others that follow it, you're not going to be able to do anything. So it has to be very specific. You have to do how is the community going to benefit by bringing something in? Those things will prohibit the people that have been using the public and tax money to build these centers in the first place. So there needs to be a lot of specifics. It doesn't have to be 2,000 pages, no. But I agree with what Jed's saying.
But I think we should go to a specific attorney for this. I don't think our local attorneys, they do a great job of what they do. they've never dealt with this before, ever. And they're probably never gonna deal with it again. And typically, on something like that, it's basically look it over, looks good, rubber stamp it. You go to a specific attorney that's dealt with this before, I think it's a good idea.
Well, I think my hope is though, is that if we do this, we go to an attorney, we spend the money, but then we don't sit here and get scrutinized up and down the block because it's not meeting opinion. Shalls and insurers are two different words. And so some of those requirements could be a very easy catch without having to go too extreme, in how you word that. But again, it's finding the right attorney who understands it, who isn't already, working behind the scenes. That we don't want a conflict of interest either. Meaning attorneys who have fought to get data center developers their way.
I mean, these guys represent not just Archbold, they've got a lot of other communities on, they got some experience.
Not in this.
Not in data
Not in
centers.
this. I think it gives a bad opinion anyway. I mean, we've had some moratorium against their opinion. All six of us.
And the county prosecutor.
Yeah.
And Farm Bureau.
But Farm Bureau did not say not do a moratorium. Farm Bureau said,
I called him and asked him.
they said,
He said no.
don't just do a moratorium unless you have something to back it up. You have to have this in place.
Did you call?
I did not call him. I remember what he said. But I will say, Farm Bureau is a great organization. They've never stopped the data center, ever.
Well, they're for landowners' rights, so.
But they've never stopped, they've never had anybody in charge to stop a data center.
I called the Farm Bureau and I talked to them, and they told me not to have a moratorium unless you have something to back it up with, which you do. So Chad is saying exactly what they told me too. Maybe you didn't hear him correctly.
No, I did hear him correctly. I called him. And
Okay, I talked to him too, and he talked to us in the German Township meeting and told us the same thing.
But I agree with you, we have to get something that we all agree on, something we agree on, we send an attorney, and it's not gonna make everybody happy, not all of us gonna be happy with it here, but get something we agree on, send it to them, and see what they say.
So we know we don't wanna go the hard way.
Right.
We all agree on that, right?
No reason.
So, let's move on.
Any other?
I just wanna make sure we have realistic expectations too, like, if we send this off to some of the attorneys that have experience in data centers, I know the first meeting we got with the professionals that helped Hilliard, I mean, it took 2 months just to get a meeting with them. So, by the time we get this all organized, I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna take up the full 6 months of the moratorium, but it takes 30 days just to advertise the planning commission. So by the time they get everything reviewed, and they're not likely gonna prioritize us on their to-do list. So by the time they get everything, I just wanna make sure we're not expecting this to be done in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, and probably not 4 weeks.
I think some expected that 2 months ago.
I know. It's not. It's not. So,
You're talking 4 months.
I would say minimum, I would say minimum 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months, because that's just how backlog, and you wanna make sure it's done properly, so in a normal world that we live in, you wanna go 5. So now you're talking possibly into November, December.
I mean,
That's realistic. I mean, you might as well be realistic and just say it like it is.
yeah, I agree.
I have no sense pampering it, because pampering ain't gonna work.
I agree. I think by the time, based on your direction, if we go with the same attorneys we talked to earlier this year, I wouldn't expect an answer from them for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and then for them to review the code and go over everything again to implement the strategies that we send them based on some of the conditional use language. And then basically say, hey, you guys are way off point here, you can't do this, and then here's some stuff that's worked for other communities, and then essentially coming back here to you guys again, hey, this is what the attorneys provided us with, what's your feelings on this, and then we say, yep, pull the trigger, draft it, and then we'll take it to planning commission. I mean, I'm visualizing 4 months minimum, and then another month to advertise for planning commission. I think we're gonna be pushing right up on that moratorium timeline.
We can extend it, right?
We could, yep,
I can put
absolutely.
in, I think, 90 to 120 days extension, I mean, I'm right on that moratorium.
That's why we voted on the moratorium.
This stuff takes time, and
Was it 6 months that got voted on?
Yeah.
And you could extend it up to,
I mean,
a
I just
ninth
put it in
month.
there that this moratorium may be extended an additional, I think, 190 to 120 days or something like that. Just so that it was in writing, that we don't know if we'll accomplish, I mean, there's still, the water study is still in works. I mean, that was just one piece of what we said had to be done. And we specifically told them, could Archbold's reservoirs withstand an additional 1 to 1.5 million gallons a day withdrawn from it without putting new reservoirs? You know, on a hypothetical scale, so that we understand, like, no, you can't, you would need that new reservoir, just, you know, so. We wanna get it right, we want, I think council all agrees to some extent, and I recognize your hesitation last week that, you know, it's because there's nothing in front of us, but obviously putting part of the concern to rest temporarily so that we have the time to get this done, is the moratorium was the only route to give us some time to get it done and to effectively do everything else that you hammered on me today about, so.
Just to add one more thing too, the attorneys that we talked to out of Columbus, there was 3 of them on the team. Essentially, they each had different specialties, but they quoted us, I think it was $25,000 to draft the ordinance. Now that included attending some public meetings and presenting on it to you guys and planning commission, which I don't know that we necessarily need to do. But yeah, I just want to be clear, like that's what the quote was, $25,000.
For how long? Is that for the
That was what their
duration of this?
expected cost was to draft, review, and present to various different boards, before it's finally accepted.
Cause we had conversations with our consultant as well, and, then we kind of put the brakes because we were going back and forth and spinning around until we couldn't even see, but, you know, his thought was, well, I thought we were gonna make this a difficult situation in, M2, you know, conditional use. So we can always go back to him, as well, and then have it reviewed by an attorney, and he probably would be able to speed up the creation part of it for the review side, as opposed to, we hand this to an attorney, and they're like, yeah, we already have this. We just need to look specific on how we tailor it to Archbold. We don't know what route, I mean, we don't know what path they would take once they look at it, and they say, out the window, we're gonna tailor our own special code to Archbold. And slide it in where it fits.
And where does this like how did you start? I mean, obviously this is like draft 1 of a long process ahead.
This is probably draft of many.
Right. So where did you guys, just out of curiosity, where did you guys start in regards to like the foundation of, okay, this is what we have, and then moving on from there? How does that work on your guys's?
So it started with our conditional use standards that we already have in the zoning code, and basically seeing where the shortfalls are as they apply to data centers. Obviously, the zoning code wasn't drafted expecting data centers to explode the way they were, nor I think data centers were even considered. So just basically figuring out where those pitfalls were, and then going from there, basically just jotting down notes. Okay, what are we missing? What could be taken advantage of? And then just research, just figuring out what other communities have been doing, figuring out what's worked for them, stuff that they've passed in their conditional uses, and then basically tailoring that to Archbold. So some of the numbers you'll see in there are Archbold specific, based on averages of Archbold industrial manufacturing, based on our water consumption, stuff like that. Obviously, it's just this isn't meant to be the code or a recommendation to the attorneys, like, hey, this is what we want, just fix this. It's just an outline.
Right.
Yeah, they're stepping stones.
Just a vague outline.
Because I think for me, the important part is when you create administrative steps in a code, that's sometimes where I feel like we stumble. Because Now you're trying to juggle all this stuff as opposed to ironing it down to more, fewer specific items that are harder hurdles to get over. Those are easy to check those boxes off instead of, trying to even comprehend how do we ensure that it was done right and it, we didn't miss a step and so forth, so.
Is there anything in there about air pollution, noise pollution, light pollution?
No. We defer and have to defer to that for EPA requirements and Wood County building inspections for all commercial properties in Archbold. We don't have anything in there other than the fact that the zoning code refers to following OEPA guidelines and then Wood County building inspections. So that would all, I'm a one-man crew with this.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity.
No, and I think it's important for people to understand too, because if you're not familiar with it, you watch shows and things like that, we gotta pull permits for extra electrical and this and so forth. Archbold defers everything has to comply with the Ohio Building Code, and it's spelled that out in the zoning, 152. Archbold's is more land use, so, we oversee the land use and some of those features within it, the requirements of, as an easy one, facade, building has to be X amount of facade requirements, 50% or whatever it might be. Those are those easy check-offs. The Ohio Building Code, EPA requirements, especially, storm detention and all that stuff, that is always deferred to those codes specifically because we do not have residential or commercial inspection. So it's one thing that, if people are in defiance, they have to get a permit for a water heater in their home. Well, in Archbold, you don't, but it's your responsibility to comply with the Ohio Building Code with whoever installs it for you.
Well, can I just make a suggestion? If you're worried about the other businesses that might come and then they'll get bogged down with a new ordinance, you can custom tailor your ordinance to be only for data centers so that you don't bog down other businesses. And if you make it just for data centers and then you do very high standards for air, water, you can go above the federal standards. You don't just have to do the US EPA standards. You can make them higher to protect the families in the area that will be around the data center. If you make the standards super high and strict, the data centers will want to go somewhere else, maybe where they won't be so close to schools and homes. And if you do just for data centers, you're not hurting other businesses. And that is not exclusionary. You are allowed to have different ordinances for this type of business.
Yeah, Chad, did you say that the other piece of this is that when we put these hurdles on here, we're seeing on the news, they don't wanna be where they're not welcome. And some of them are now, they're walking away, amongst many different political and operational and feasibility reasons why. But did they say in that meeting that they don't wanna be where they're not wanted?
They said they don't wanna be where they're not welcome, but they also said if zoning is not proper, it's the wild, wild west, and they'll come in and do whatever they wanna do.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of a little bit of both. They don't wanna go where they're not welcome, but if the zoning's not right, they're gonna push it as hard as they can.
Like snakes.
And I think that's why they're focusing on Williams County right now. Because Williams County lacks zoning, a lot of zoning, so they're really focusing on Williams County.
Well, like I said, that's purposely why I felt the moratorium was the right step to give us the time, but also to incorporate the option to extend it if needed. So this gives us some time to get it done, to get it done right.
What I got at that meeting, in short, they don't care what we do.
Right.
If they get the land, and they get whatever they want, they could care less what anybody thinks. Even though they say they don't wanna go to the wall. They're there to sell the land, get it out there and get. And the sad thing is, they brought a lot of really good businesses to Northwest Ohio, regular businesses, but they're not focusing on that right now. They said it's not their focus. It's easy money, data centers, that's where they're getting their money.
Have you viewed their website recently?
Not in the last couple of weeks.
It has changed, their approach is changing a little bit. Which tells me that initiatives such as ours, is making a difference. They were very much data center, Northwest Ohio resources, and go to it. It's interesting. Shifted a bit.
If that was my first meeting going to something about data centers, I would have come back to council and said, we need one now. Because they sold it. They sold it really well. Really well. They lied, but they sold it.
Were you the only one that went, Chad?
I think so. Yeah.
Chad, what meeting was it?
RGP had a meeting at Northwest State.
Okay.
I got invited. I think a lot of people got invited.
We all got
But I might as well go and see what's going on. I didn't ask any questions. I just sat there and listened. There's a lot of township and county people from Northwest Ohio. People from Finley were there.
Right.
That made the news.
I talked to one of them afterwards. He wasn't on it, but the other one was. The other one was.
Aaron, can you go to I for findings required for approval? Do you have that pulled up there or not?
Yeah, it's at the bottom area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
'Cause looking at that, I don't know, council, what your thoughts are, but I mean, if you beef that up, it would do both, right? It would allow the village of Archbold, its citizens, to, in essence, bring in what the village would want and keep things that we don't want out, right? I mean, I think there's plenty there, as long as you have the right people in zoning and planning and elsewhere, right, to be able to.
Big one is public utilities.
Yeah, doesn't know if that's.
You don't have a lot of.
Our discussion of what we're gonna do. Some of them are vague.
I mean, you could say the loophole there is that, well, you know, that place will come in and they'll build it, they'll pay for it, everything else. But the others would deter it as well, right?
They gotta build and pay for a reservoir though. I mean, that's
Exactly.
way more than building a couple times.
Because I think we can do both. I think we can keep data centers away, and we can also attract other business without having, you know, because I get the point of we don't want to deter people on paper from ever even thinking about coming out here, but if what we have on paper is deterring them, then did we want them in the first place?
We need something about the public health. We have to have something about, if there's nothing in there about health, it's public utilities and money. Basically, we have to consider the impact on the entire community, the children, schools, old seniors, people with asthma, you know.
Like I said, this is a general outline based on starting from what we have currently in the zoning code. Obviously, we'd be open to any recommendations that the experts have in this and what they've worked in other communities. That, like I said, this is not meant to be like, hey, this is what the zoning code is going to look like. This is just a very basic outline based on what we found starting with Archbold and then what we currently have. It's meant to be expanded. It's meant for the attorney to say, hey, you guys are significantly lacking in public health maybe, or whatever, lighting, whatever it may be, air quality. You guys are significantly lacking in these areas and it needs to be addressed. Awesome, thank you. Let's do that. That's the point. That's kind of the goal of this whole thing.
And in support of what you're saying, you know, you gotta start somewhere.
Exactly.
But everything that I have read, the control could rest with you and the planning group. What is allowed to be released into the air in your community by the businesses in your community? What is allowed to be discharged from water in your community can be stopped by what is written in. The EPA at this point, they're not following any rules or regulations when they build these data centers. I talked to the EPA in Bowling Green. The only reason they knew a data center was coming in was because the bulldozers started bulldozing. They didn't have permits for anything. The guy was afraid to talk. So the state is not going to back you. The state right now is in a position, well, there's a lot of corruption, period. The reason why there was some changes to RGP and the website is because people are becoming educated as to what's been going on behind the scenes. Okay? How $1 billion a year going through Ohio jobs is being funneled in cooperation with the RGPs and the Fulton County Health, Economic Development. Nobody can see that, okay? That's a powerful position to be in. But you can control the air that your grandchildren are breathing in Archbold. The EPA hasn't inspected but one well. They're allowed to draw all the public water they want. They can't be stopped. You can't stop them if your reservoir is government water. They can draw it, and then they can dump it wherever they want. And 3M Corporation was fined $10 billion for PFAS, Forever Chemicals. Racine, Wisconsin Supreme Court just sided with data centers on the Great Lakes Water Act. St. Joe has got a new one going in. They're circling the Great Lakes. It's up to you to understand when you're being deceived too. We all have to be educated. But the best power you have is, no, you're not going to draw water and you're not going to discharge it into our ditches. The ag isn't going to tell you that. He was happy to say he's got a data center behind his desk. No, that's not it. And the reason data centers are coming in isn't because there's more farmers using GPS on their tractors. I guarantee it. There's a lot less farming going on. So you can do things with what we breathe, what we drink, the sounds we hear. The studies of the sounds of these have never been looked at. Animals can't survive in that atmosphere. It's serious. It's dead serious. And it'll cost lives. So there are things, and my suggestion is get somebody in that has the expertise. I'll be glad to volunteer to find somebody to sort of go along. It's not that you're short because you're doing something. But doing nothing is exactly what data centers love. And that's why they're all around us.
I was just going to talk, getting back on getting some language in there, and I have no idea if this is what you do, but just like with all the temporary generators, like Fort Wayne has a data center, they just approved to put in 140 temporary diesel generators that don't have the pollution controls on them. And then you're putting all those particles into the air. And I mean, this is what they do. They bring in these temporary generators and then they have them for years. I mean, they're not temporary just for like a few months. They get by with them for years. So you need to have language in there that will not allow that. I mean, that might be another one of your, yeah, you can come in here, but you can't do this X, Y, and Z. So then they don't want to come here.
You can also have a certified or have a realtor who will give an opinion about our property values. So this will affect all of our property values. A lot of us will move. Like we will move if you do this. Maybe some of you are happy about that, but we will move. And I know a lot of people, anyone who can afford to move is not going to want to live by this, and we don't want our children to live by it. So our property values are going to plummet, and then we won't be able to sell our houses, or we'll have to sell them for much less. We're going to lose our savings. So you can actually have that as part of your ordinance, that a realtor will give an opinion about the effect on our property values. And you can deny a permit because it will negatively affect our property values. If you put in a different type of business in there that's more attractive, then our property values will not suffer because of it. So that's something that you also have to consider. You also have to consider that you can be sued. So as a council, you need to protect us, and we don't have the ability to do that. It's all in your hands. So if you don't correctly do this to protect our water and our air and our even just our noise, the vibration from this is so low, it cracks windows, it causes health problems. If you don't protect us, we can sue you. We can also sue you for the reduction in our property value as well. I'm not trying to threaten you, I'm just saying the suing works both ways. You're also worried about getting sued by a data center, but you should also be worried about the people in the community that will suffer from this. So you have to, if I were you, I would spend the $25,000 and find good counsel, because it is worth it to make sure that everybody, you guys are protected, we're all protected. I mean, I'll take up, we'll give donations if you need them, because we're all going to lose a lot more than $25,000.
So I think where we're at right now appreciate everybody's input. I think where we're at right now, because we have heard everything that you guys have presented, and we appreciate it. I think where we are is we've got a moratorium in place that's gonna protect us. We've decided, that we agree on not a hard ban, but a conditional use revision to our zoning. We've got this proposed, which is not, this is version 1 of many that we'll go through. We will be hiring an expert attorney that will guide us through all of the things that need to be in this zoning and making sure that we're hitting on all of those things. Again, not gonna hire, just John Doe attorney. We're gonna hire someone who has the knowledge and understanding. Am I misspeaking? If I'm misspeaking,
No, I fully support that.
tell me.
All they do is
But
work.
I just wanna recap this, that we're not just saying this is what we're doing right here, because there's a lot of gaps, and we recognize that there's a lot of gaps that are in this initial proposal, as I understand it. I'm saying this because I wanna make sure I'm understanding what our guidance is to council from you guys, is that we'll be hiring an attorney that is an expert in this area to truly give us the guidance of what needs to be in here to protect us from an environmental standpoint, air, noise, all of that stuff. And are we all on the same page with this?
Well, we're not hiring an environmental attorney, I just want that to be on the record.
But we'll make sure that the things that are
The
environmentally that we need
concerns,
to address.
air, water, sound, things like that, public health.
That those are gonna be, we're gonna make sure that those are included in this final, which is gonna, again, as I understand it, could potentially take months before we have final draft that we can approve. Is that accurate? Does everyone have the same understanding?
And is it council that's not from this area, that's outside? That's
Yeah, because there's no one here
completely
that's
Right.
an expert on data centers, or we would have had this conversation done 2 months ago, right?
Right.
So clearly, there's no one locally that's an expert attorney in this type of thing. So yes, it will be someone not here.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It was more so a concern of what German Township did and how that's good enough for them, if it's not good enough for us, so.
Correct, because they're looking at a much smaller area of potential exposure.
They don't have as much zoning, they don't have as much zoning either, I don't think, do they? They only have farmland, M2,
They have them too.
M2 and that's pretty much it.
It could still pass them as well, right? And no matter what, it's gonna land on that
Yeah,
tax.
Okay, so I think we got our marching orders and. Any matter of council comments? I don't have anything.
How's the memorial, what's our, I know it's been wet, are we gonna be close?
Oh, not for Memorial Day.
I didn't think so.
That's why I said a while back that I'm concerned, and spring proved itself to be.
Okay.
all-
The weather was challenging.
Yeah, I mean, site's ready, other than nothing. And memorial cells are at the granite shop. That's all that.
Just to diffuse that before.
I've already got questions for you.
So the ones I told us would be ready. That was our initial.
Yeah, they wanted it gone in December, the grant company couldn't get them out in December, which then pushed Gary back for the weather.
Do we have an authorization at this point? Or is there-
Oh, sure, always have that.
Yeah, I was there last year, I go to them every year.
But the
The year before.
like the 6 or 7 years before that. they had it out. And they're aware of it. obviously. So, they've already got it.
Second biggest question I get asked, the other side of the tracks, where that hole is, I saw them out there spraying some stuff. You know, when they put the plan,
That reminds me, I could share, there was a list of things that need to be addressed.
I think Gherkin, Mike Burkle would call it, Gherkin now, he was talking about that on the radio in the last couple of weeks.
Cause they gotta get that, they gotta patch a couple other spots, Franklin Street, not the crossing, and then clean out the area. Well, they grinded it down to try and smooth.
No kidding.
Okay, the next council meeting is, Monday, May 4th, trustees, April 27th. Their meeting is at 5:30, which is a good time to have a meeting. Better than in the morning and better than 7 o'clock at night.
They moved it back to 6 for this one too.
So I ask for a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Aaron, all in favor?
Aye.